Welcome to More Than Legal, the show where we go behind the scenes to uncover the fine print of power, purpose, and profit. I'm your host, attorney Danielle Laughlin. After almost 2 decades in the trenches of courtrooms and boardrooms, I have learned that every move leaves a mark and every deal tells a story. What will we uncover today? Let's find out. Hey, real quick, before we dive into the episode, remember, nothing you hear on this podcast is intended to be legal, financial, or tax advice. I invite you to contact any of the guests you hear by looking in the show notes for their contact information, or if you'd like to reach out to me, you can find my contact information at daniellelaughlin.com. All right, now let's get into it. Hey, welcome to More Than Legal. I'm your host, Danielle Laughlin, and it is my great pleasure to bring an amazing person to you today. His name is Alexander McCobin, and he has a fabulous story to share with you about his journey. I've known Alexander for over 20 years. I know he looks so young, and we were young. In fact, he was an undergrad. I was in law school when we met, and now we're doing business together, which is just probably one of the most exciting things about my adult life is really seeing it come full circle and watching you, Alexander, from afar, and the power of social media to be able to keep up with each other over these past years and then find a way to come back together to do good things in the world. And it's just like modernity, right? Is just so great. And you leveraged social media very effectively as a younger guy. And you have a great network now. You are the founder of Liberty Ventures. You are an investor. You have a lot to share in the investment world. And then before that, you did some pretty amazing things too. So I will stop talking and allow you to tell the audience what you want them to know about you and why you may have something valuable to share with them today.
Well, Danielle, it really is exciting to be on the podcast with you. And as you said, to see life come full circle when we were both just getting going, not even with careers, still as students working together in Students for Liberty. I don't think we could have expected to do this. And it's just so amazing to see how well you've done since we first met 20 years ago and everything that you're up to, and to get the opportunity to work together. Because you and I have both been driven by principles for a long time in our lives. And what we're both doing now is really carrying those principles forward in the way that we do business, which is what both of us are committed to, you and your practice and me, and wanting to provide an ecosystem for principled business leaders to discover one another, to develop relationships with each other, and do business with each other. And that's the whole idea behind the Liberty Ventures Network.
It's an amazing network of people.
I appreciate that. And it's been great to have you coming out to our events. And that's one of the big things we do. We put on events of all sizes, ranging from large conferences like a giant conference coming up in Austin, Texas, October 28th to 30th, with speakers like John Mackey, the founder of Whole Foods, Salim Basul, who just stepped down as chairman of Six Flags, and hundreds of others, to more intimate events like a summit at Sir Richard Branson's home, Necker Island, for just 40 to 50 leaders in the network that I'm excited that you're going to be at and share what you're working on with everyone there. But it's not just about events. The Liberty Ventures Network really is about helping like-valued investors deploy capital into principled founders in order to combine both getting an ROI with advancing freedom and prosperity in the world. It's about forming peer cohorts for CEOs and other executives in different industries and in different cities to support one another on their journeys in scaling impactful businesses, which is one of the things we're going to be doing at a summit that you're hosting in Atlanta for principal business executives next month on April 24th. And of course, we want to do a lot to help founders get going. People who have just an idea on a napkin they want to turn into a business, or something that they've been working on for 5 years maybe and is just starting to get traction they need a little boost with. And that's why we do everything from provide advisors or job fairs to recruit talent, or pitch competitions to just get these startups visibility and support in order to get going, to build out the whole ecosystem of business leaders that are the best representatives of, advocates for, and collaborators in this amazing system called capitalism.
Absolutely. I think too, one of the best things about it is that, like, I see this as a lawyer, of course, right? I'm trying to figure out how to explain it more, but risk hates, or money hates unmitigated risk. Like, this is kind of the idea that I keep coming back to, because when we're in the rooms with just general entrepreneurial audiences, which is where I find myself a lot, um, there is a little bit of a gap between having passion for a great idea, having the audacity, dare I say, the arrogance to think that you could do something with that idea, but then finding the discipline to be the idea worth funding and investing in. And that is something where I love that the ecosystem of Liberty Ventures is bringing the money to the people that have ideas, and there's a commonality of alignment on principles, which is fundamentally that capitalism is a force for good, despite all the propaganda, despite the negative aspects of some of the, what we would call in economics, unintended consequences, maybe, right? Or trade-offs, right? We do see that there can be corruption, obviously, in any system. We have many corrupt governments, let's be honest, right? So corruption can happen in any system, but it can happen less so when there's transparency and visibility. And that's what Liberty Ventures does. It brings ideas and money up to the surface. It takes it out of the shadows. And then it says, hey, how can we figure out a way to make this work and do something great together or not? And there's no pressure. So it's just a wonderful community. And I love being a part of it. So I think that you just really had a lot of vision here about what you wanted to see. And I'd love to hear that journey. How did you get to that? Because you were at Conscious Capitalism with John Mackey. And now you're doing a similar but different thing, but it's a growth out of that conscious capitalism movement, which I do think was necessary to even start a conversation like that, because for a long time, the word capitalism might as well have been a slur.
So you're absolutely right. And just like you've continued to progress with your career in life, from law school to doing incredible things with your firm now, for me, it's also been an evolution and a growth of my career, because when we met, it was through a nonprofit, Students for Liberty, that was teaching the principles of a free society to young people around the world. Got in touch with John Mackey, the founder of Whole Foods. Through that, he became a donor and then a mentor and a friend. And after he published his book, as you mentioned, Conscious Capitalism, about elevating humanity through business, basically the Whole Foods management philosophy. And my gosh, who didn't love Whole Foods when John was running it? It was just the epitome of what a great business can be like, in having a higher purpose and taking care of all of its stakeholders. He started a nonprofit to spread that philosophy and asked me to go lead it for him, which was an amazing experience. But you're right, that after running Conscious Capitalism for a while, I decided there's a way to do this even better, to not just have a nonprofit. That's a great starting point to spread the ideas. And we've even got a nonprofit arm, because there's a lot that nonprofits can do. Our principal business nonprofit is getting business leaders to educate people about the principles of capitalism, helping a lot of startups get going when they don't know what the next step is, and really providing an ecosystem of support for other great nonprofit initiatives from business leaders. But the next step is to actually help conscious capitalists build their businesses to make a positive impact in the world. And that's the step that Liberty Ventures is taking, as I said, with deploying capital and forming partnerships, recruiting talent to companies, and really focusing on the connection between getting an ROI financially with doing good things in the world, making that positive impact.
100%. And I love how you talk through the nonprofit versus for-profit idea. Because a lot of times, so you and I, we share it's kind of like the three pillars: people, purpose, and profit, right? And that you can have them all, right? You can have all of those things. And there's a balance. And like one of the things you studied philosophy too. So, we talk about business ethics. It's a whole discipline, right? Like people don't understand. It's like there's a discipline that people literally specialize in around business ethics, and debate these things academically. And I have a professor friend who kind of asked about applied ethics, like how do we do this? And there's a little bit of a gap between the business owners, entrepreneurs out there, the investors, the money, what's actually happening in business, and the academics and the theorists and the philosophers who are questioning and asking deeper questions around the systems themselves. And I think that your organization brings those ideas together so clearly, because there are a ton of nonprofits involved, donors that have, you may be an investor, but you may have a diversification strategy for philanthropy, and you may be trying to pursue something that isn't going to give you a lot of financial profit or benefit, but has other value in the world, which I would consider to be profit too, but not profit to dollars, profit to value, right? As a value exchange. So I love that you bring up the nonprofit, because in order to demonstrate capitalism's power, I think we have to kind of let people know that it's not really one or the other. It actually can be both. We even have legal structures about this now with benefit corporations, right? Where it's like you put the charter of the purpose into, it doesn't have the same tax advantages and other, strategies. But even the law has acknowledged that a business can do both things, and management can be held to both standards simultaneously, which I think is the beginning of a beautiful friendship between philanthropy, or what we would call not-for-profit, and for-profit. Do you think about that? Do you I don't know. We've never really talked much about the benefit corporation structure, but do you see a similar convergence where these ideas are starting to be realized in the business world more and more?
So, Danielle, I love this conversation. I've thought a lot about this and think you're absolutely right. So, on the one hand, the only difference between a nonprofit and a for-profit is a business model and a tax structure. And when you look at it, that really is it. You can have the same missions and purposes between for-profits and nonprofits, just different models for it. And we could really nerd out here on the legality and need for B corporation structures versus C corps and nonprofits as something separate. I actually think Delaware law allows for traditional for-profits to incorporate higher purposes and fulfill those as a strategy to achieve profit maximization. And so you don't really need a B Corp. But I think it's also great that companies are being explicit about their higher purpose in their legal documentation and have that B Corp structure available there. So I'm of two minds there. I don't think you need that. I think traditional for-profits can have higher purpose baked into what they're doing without the explication from a B Corp structure. But B Corps are fantastic as well to be explicit about that. And there are lots of nonprofits that, of course, are making a lot of money and are dealing with large numbers here. And so without having traditional owners or distributions, they operate very similar to for-profits. And
They do.
And so what I really want to emphasize for anyone listening is that you really should think about your higher purpose to your business or of the businesses that you're working with, whatever their legal structure is, even if they're a for-profit. And given that you're in Georgia and entertainment is so big, I'll use an entertainment example. Angel Studios out of Utah, amazing company that's in the Liberty Ventures network. The Harmon brothers who founded it didn't create a nonprofit to develop the movies and TV shows they wanted to share with their families and children, even though they could have gone that way. They decided instead they were going to create a for-profit that would have a sustainable business model so that it could not only continue on, but really grow and thrive in developing family-friendly content that is uplifting to the soul, that inspires people to do more, and have built this robust and incredible business around what they're doing while really maintaining that sense of higher purpose. And that's what's not only possible, as John articulated in Conscious Capitalism, and I still believe, I think the best businesses have a higher purpose like that. They're not just looking for a quick buck in the next quarter, the next year. They're really thinking about the difference they want to make in the world, and realize that if they create enough value for everyone they touch in the process, they're going to make a profit with that too. That's the way to build the best long-term successful business.
I agree wholeheartedly. And I often get a question around this idea. Once an entrepreneur has gotten traction, they've really got something going, they're making great money, and then they start to feel this surplus, right? And they want to deploy that capital. And they say, well, should I open a nonprofit? And I'm like, why? Do we need more nonprofits? If you have a burning desire and a unique goal, for example, Principal Business has a very unique goal, but I don't know that we need another at-risk youth program. We might just need your for-profit dollars to just be deployed into an existing organization, which is a way where you don't have to ask a question between, do I do my business for profit or not? Because you can spend your money the way you want, and you can have a great impact. So I agree with you. And ultimately, if someone decides to go the nonprofit route, that's noble and honorable. But just like normal business, they're not always successful. And that's another thing. It's like, well, do you have the bandwidth to basically start a whole new business? Because that's exactly what this is going to be, right? It's not going to be like you build it and they come, because it's a noble purpose, because there's a lot of options out there, going back to the premise of all of it, right? So I love that you focus on profit. That's what I focus on. So I tell them, absolutely, you can do that. We're not the right law firm for you, because we do for-profit business. That's what we do. We do actually have a benefit corporation that's a subsidiary of ours. In Georgia, you have that, because otherwise you can't really hold them to the purpose in the same way from a managerial control perspective. Even though it's at will and things like that, there is a reason to bake that purpose in. And so in a state like Georgia, you do it that way. But I find that also there is this idea that more complexity means more sophistication. And, and it's like, no, actually, we kind of want to keep it pretty simple, like as much as possible. So tell me, you've obviously gone, from a student who is very passionate about the same cause that you profit from today, right? Like now as an entrepreneur. What was your, I guess, thought process in the beginning as that young student trying to spread these ideas, and then the shift to turning it into your own business model? Because not everybody does that. A lot of people stay in the nonprofit world, they stay in the donor world and do great things. What made you shift into the capitalist machine, I guess we might say?
Well, the answer is I'm always trying to find the way to make the biggest impact possible and figure out what I can contribute the most to do, because it actually goes further back than switching from the nonprofit to the for-profit side, as but we haven't mentioned here. My original plan was to go and become a philosophy professor. I wasn't just studying it. I planned to be in the ivory tower and teach it. But I was just having so much fun with, and saw that I was having a bigger impact through Students for Liberty and nonprofit organizing than reading and writing papers I'd be lucky if a dozen people ever got to in academia, that I decided to pivot. And then while I was in the nonprofit space and got recruited by John to Conscious Capitalism, I saw this other opportunity to take the next step and to have an even bigger impact. And that brought me into the for-profit world. And this has kind of been a guiding mantra for me in life, that when opportunities present themselves and I see ways to, perhaps it's a change from what I was doing before, but an opportunity to improve what I'm doing, to help more people and to make a bigger impact, it's worth it to say yes to doing that, even if it's a risk. And every one of those pivots was a risk, moving away from what I was doing before. But it's always been for that opportunity. And that's what I always advise pretty much anyone that I'm talking to, if I'm mentoring them, or even I'm just talking with startups about what to do. It's look for the opportunities, create optionality for yourself. And when you get the opportunity to do something bigger and better, take that chance.
I love it, because a lot of people hesitate to make a big change like that. It goes back to kind of sunk cost fallacy, right? I've invested all this time, money, reputation into this thing, and what's going to happen? If I shift over here, am I going to go bankrupt? Am I going to become obscure? Am I going to lose out and never be able to come back? Or, people have a lot of fear around that. I see this often with the side hustle entrepreneurs. It's like 1 foot in, 1 foot out. And that might be necessary in a given circumstance for someone. But I'll use myself as an example. When I started my law firm, I was a single mom with $80,000 in student loan debt, credit card debt, and $5,000 in the bank account, with no family financial support. But I knew that if I didn't make the leap and really go all in and focus on it, it was going to be a waste of my money and time, because I would always go back to that paycheck. I would always do what my boss asked me to do over what I really wanted to do for my business, if given the opportunity, right? And so I see this a lot. Have you encountered that with any of your startup founders that are kind of like still have their full-time gig, and then they're not really sure how to shift over or take the leap?
100%. And look, I actually really believe in testing things small before going really big, to know you've got a good idea. Don't risk your entire life savings on something that's completely untested. That's a bad idea. But at the same time, it is really important to go all in when you know you've got something and you really believe in it, or even before you go all in, to put skin in the game. And that's something that, as an investor, I always look for with founders. If they're not risking things, why should I put an investment in to risk them? And it's the same mentality I talk about with other investors in the network. And it's true. Sometimes that fails. And look, we've all had failures and mistakes and things that didn't work out in our lives. I've certainly had a bunch of those. You probably had some too, Danielle. Everyone does. But you've got to take that risk in order to get not only the successful results, but to bring other people along to believe in you. And sometimes it does work out. I'll give another example from the network. There is this incredible company called Boom Supersonic that's bringing supersonic jet travel back to the world. And the origin story is wild. The founder, Blake Scholl, incredibly values aligned, committed to the principles of capitalism. He had started a software company back in the day, got sold to Groupon. And after working at Groupon for a year or two, he started to ask himself, what am I doing with my life? I'm just helping people get discounts. Is this really what I'm going to do for my time on Earth? And he decided to take the leap, left Groupon, didn't have any experience in aerospace, but loved planes, and asked himself, why are we going slower in the air than we did 30 years ago? What happened? And after looking at the fundamentals of the engineering, he was crazy enough to say, I think I can do this better. And out of his basement, he started this company with the idea of bringing supersonic travel back. They just tested their first supersonic jet a year ago. They are on track, it looks like, to be commercially viable in the next 4 years. And it's absolutely incredible to see where they've come. But keep in mind, it's been 13 years. He's had up rounds, he's had down rounds, he's nearly gone out of business with this. And one of the keys with entrepreneurship, again, as with life, is you got to be willing to take the hits. You got to be ready for things to go wrong, because they will at some point, but then persevere through. And what I see with Blake is such an incredible inspiration and example of what can be done when you take the risk. If you believe in the change you're bringing about in the world and you're willing to put everything into making it happen.
It's so important. I feel like there's two things you said. Number one, Boom Supersonic. This is like the most exciting thing to me, because as a traveler, I just am like, yes, the only thing holding me back is time, so I'm just really excited for that. I also wanted to be an astronaut, so I really love just like aerospace in general. But the other thing that I think is super important about what you said is, you said skin in the game and willingness to fail, and then perseverance and grit. And so, I know as an investor, you're looking at where can we deploy dollars that's going to make a big impact. And then also where's the mitigated risk to make sure that our downside, although we always know that it is inherently risky, we do want to mitigate our downside. So let me ask you, have you ever had to turn down an opportunity that would bring great profit, but wasn't really aligned with your values?
Absolutely. Ranging from the early days of Students for Liberty, where we actually got an offer for a donation, a sizable one when we were getting going. It would have been a game changer, but it had strings attached for literally changing our mission and what we stood for. And I had to say no, which was really, at one level, really tough to do, because it meant things were harder for us to run the programs and do everything we wanted. But on the other hand, it was actually pretty easy to do, because we literally just said, no, we stand for what we stand for. But it comes up even still with Liberty Ventures, where we vet everyone who joins the network. We vet the opportunities that come through in terms of whether these companies are aligned with what we stand for or not. And the exciting thing is that, yeah, sometimes that means we're turning down opportunities, but it actually attracts more opportunities than it turns away, because other people who share our values are excited to find a network that has the same values. Entrepreneurs are excited to find values aligned capital. Investors are excited to realize they can get both a return on their investment and support liberty at the same time. And it's just a common bond where people want to spend time with each other. I mean, I imagine one of the reasons you decided to get involved in the network is you were just excited about the idea of being around other people who share your same values, and being able to have that as a common starting point for conversations and collaborations, instead of feeling people out and wondering if they're going to be critical of what you believe in, or if you're going to be able to establish that relationship. So yeah, we turn down opportunities, but we get so many more from wearing our values on our sleeves.
Absolutely. And I also think that, it's like we're not all investors in a hyper technical sense, but we are all investors, right? Because we are investing our effort, our time, our attention. We're opening our networks, right? So I will say my experience in the Liberty Ventures and Principal Business Network has been the best experience I've ever had in business groups ever. And I've been an entrepreneur for 11 years. And as a business attorney, I am often in a lot of very, influential circles and rooms. And what is most valuable about the network is the vetting. Because I know that even though this person that I'm meeting is a new stranger to me that I've never met before, I can trust that we're not going to be misaligned on the fundamentals, which means that I don't have to couch or hold back or feel like maybe this isn't the right room or the right place or the right person, I automatically assume, based on those early experiences and being in the rooms and talking to people where every person had genuine value to bring to the conversation, there's no extraction. Like, some groups extract. I'm in a group now that I feel is a big extraction. It's not marketed as an extractor, of course. It's marketed as an accelerator, right? As a growth tool. But that's not really what's happening there. And I think, being the kind of fly on the wall in these networks, that's totally different. And that's why I have gone all in with you and the Liberty Ventures Network, because I've formed some of the strongest friendships I've ever had as an adult, right? Just like meeting new people in a very short period of time, where I feel like I've known people for my entire life because we are already seeing eye to eye. So I think that you figured that out, and I love how you brought all that together. And it's the willingness to say no and to have the courage to be yourself and to be committed to your principles. How would you encourage, an entrepreneur, a leader, even an investor that you do a lot of angel? You got an angel, what is it? Angel Investor Incubator coming up?
That's right. So for anyone listening who, if you agree that capitalism is fundamentally good, that, like Danielle said, and you're looking to be in a network of other business leaders who believe that and really help you on your business path, we've got tracks for every kind of business person. For accredited investors, yes, we're launching our first angel investor incubator to provide training and support for people new to angel investing into the startup world, to learn the ropes, to learn how to get deal flow, to diligence opportunities, to learn the legal side, some of the legal side of it, and what happens when an investment goes bad, because that happens all the time. Most investments in the startup space end up not working out. So we've got tracks for that, as well as to see deal flow and actually be able to back values aligned founders. For CEOs and executives at companies with 5 or 10 million or more in revenue that are looking to grow, we've got those peer cohorts to learn from others who are building their companies. We've got events like the Executive Summit coming up in Atlanta, where Michael Dorf, the CEO of City Winery, is going to be speaking, or Curtis Height from improving.com, sharing how they've scaled their businesses to be the incredible powerhouses that they are. And for founders, we run pitch competitions. Our next one is coming up at Freedom Fest in July. We're taking applications for startups to get featured there. We provide advisors and mentors to get those startups going, that just submit our form on our website, libertyventuresnetwork.com, and we'll help out. And we just want to be this place to convene like-valued leaders to build those friendships and relationships with each other that lead to all kinds of collaborations and friendships that we can't even predict. So I invite everyone to check out our website, libertyventuresnetwork.com, and our nonprofit, principledbusiness.org, to see what's available to get engaged.
Absolutely. I'm excited for the event coming up. It's going to be March 24th here at the Sage headquarters. That's the summit, the executive summit.
April 24th. Yep.
What did I say? March?
Yeah.
It's not March 24th.
No, not in 4 days.
It's April 24th. Thank you. Wow. I'm glad you corrected me. We would have had a lot of people show. So yes, it's April 24th. And we're going to host that here. But there's also the City Winery VIP. And so there's opportunity to get into curated rooms, having curated conversations. And I'd like for everyone who might be interested in this event to know that that's a paid option, but the event itself, the summit, is free. So if you just want to test it out, if you just want to come see what it's about, come join us. Come see what is going on. I am just proud to be a part of this. I think that you are fantastic. Michelle's fantastic. You guys are doing so much good in the world, Alexander. Thank you for sharing your website. Now, I know that you can be found also on all the social platforms. And is there any parting wisdom or encouragement that you'd like to give someone who may not know whether this is the right room for them or not?
The last thing I'll say is to just come out and find out. That's the only way to really understand. And then find out what other opportunities are available to get involved. And so the last story I'll share is of a company called Supply Pay and their founder, William Steele, an incredible entrepreneur. He discovered us, or we discovered him, I'm really not quite sure, just on LinkedIn about 2 years ago. And he didn't know much about us, but decided he was starting his new business, Supply Pay, and he would apply for one of the, I think, our first accelerator that we actually ran, an online program. He had a positive enough experience there that he decided to come out to our principal business summit in New York. We got to know him better. He got to know us. He applied for a pitch competition, won an opportunity to come to Necker Island with us. And since then, I think I'm able to say that he's met a fair number of his current investors through the Liberty Ventures network. He is not only taking advantage of the different events and opportunities we're putting on, he's now starting to mentor and teach other entrepreneurs, because Supply Pay is absolutely killing it right now. They just closed, I think, their Series A or Seed Plus. I'm not sure what you call the round now, but
Yeah.
he's doing phenomenal. And he was in that position 2 years ago, not sure who we were, just getting started. So he just started trying it out. And that's my encouragement to everyone here. If you're building a business, if you're looking for opportunities to invest in companies, whatever it is, the best thing to do is have the right relationships to discover the right networks. So just come on out, whether it's to an in-person summit like our executive summit in Atlanta that Danielle is hosting here, or to one of our online events, or read our magazine, Capitalists for Capitalism, and just start to see, does this align with you? Is there an opportunity to connect you with other like-valued leaders? And what can we do to help you out?
Awesome. I saw Supply Pay's pitch, and immediately I was like, oh yeah, that guy is taking off. And so it's been great because, and I've heard this from other entrepreneurs too, who were maybe more hesitant. I do think it's a little easier for capital allocators because they've already thought about how to deploy their capital, and they've already thought about like what they would fund or not fund kind of generally. And so it seems like more of the founder side is where it's like, well, is this really the room for me? And are these the people for me? But it's been incredible to watch that growth. And there's many more too. There's many more. And so it's exciting to, if you're an entrepreneur or a founder and you're looking for people who can help you become capital ready. I think that is a big attraction to this network, because even if it's not for you, it will at least inform you of it will help you refine what may be for you. And so it's never a bad idea to just start talking to people, especially if you're going to be in a room of proven talent and success, which is what you've curated with your network. And I'm grateful to be a part of. So thank you, Alexander. Please.
Actually, can I say one more thing, Danielle? I'm building on that, because you're absolutely right. And I actually think it does apply to capital allocators and even execs at large companies and founders, because so much of this takes time, and it is about relationship building. Even investors who have incredible deal flow are coming into the network and finding new deals that they didn't know about before because we're sharing it with them. And executives at established companies, one of the things that I hear from them, they're running a $50 or $100 million business, is that they feel lonely. They don't know other people who share their values in the business world, and this is a space to meet them. And with founders, I get so many founders who reach out and want to share their deck with me for an investment as the first thing that they do. And for other allocators, maybe that is how they operate. But in my experience, and the way and what I hear from a lot of other investors in the network, we prefer to invest in people we've known, that we've been able to see the way they operate for a while, that we are able to really believe in, because it's not just about the deck. It's about the founding team, and that takes time to learn. So my advice to everyone is start sooner than later building these relationships, getting involved, showing who you are and what you're able to do. And that leads to all kinds of opportunities down the road. It's not the get something today mentality that a lot of people want, but it's a much more successful long-term strategy. Start building the relationships and getting involved.
Absolutely. And I love that you brought that up, because I do think that relationships are the most important, and it gives everybody in the whole deal flow. Yeah, it gives everybody more confidence. When looking at a shiny deck can be exciting. It's like, ooh, this looks great. But there's always the next step, which is, but do I want to invest in this? It may look financially like it might be the lottery ticket of a lifetime, but it still doesn't move the needle for a lot of investors, because there's something more. And I'm glad you brought that up. And I think that we could probably have a whole conversation about that.
And we will at the Angel Accelerator coming up.
Yes, the Angel Accelerators. So absolutely, I'm going to join it. I was telling Alexander, I see deal flow as a lawyer. And now as a diversification strategy, I do want to put dollars behind some of the things that I see. But I'm very risk averse as a lawyer, as you might imagine. So although maybe not that risk averse compared to others, but I do hesitate a bit on dollars, because I know that a lot of deals go south. And so I'm excited to do that with you and learn a little bit more about some of the things we've talked about, the moat, right? We talked about the moat. We've talked about, principles, right? Who is the founding team? So that's going to be exciting, along with all of the nitty gritty details on legal and financial, of course, as well. So thanks so much. There's so much to get involved with, everyone. Definitely come see us. Come see us at Sage on April 24th. You'll meet Alexander, you'll meet Michelle, and many, many others. There's a great speaker panel coming in, so you can take a look at that. We'll go ahead and link that application. It is an application. The room is vetted. Don't be offended. It's not you, it's us, right? We want to make sure we got the right people there. And thanks again for your time today, Alexander. I will see you very soon, and hopefully you too listening today.
Thank you, Danielle. This has been wonderful.
All right. Bye for now. Thank you for listening to the show. Remember, stay sharp, stay curious, and stay tuned for our next episode. Bye.